Section 7.2 is about the quadratic formula, and so it's only one objective, and that's solving quadratic equations using the quadratic formula and approximate solutions using a calculator. So the solutions of ax squared plus bx plus c are given by the expression x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2a. And notice that the fraction bar extends all the way under the minus b symbol, in the minus b part. So it's important to apply this formula correctly. If you do, it is very easy to solve quadratic equations. So the algebraic graphical connection, kind of what we discussed before, is when we have the quadratic equation where a is not equal to a, and the solutions given by x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So we know that the solutions to the equations are the x-coordinates of the x-intercepts. And so if the intercept exists, and there are cases where they don't, so then we have minus b minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a, comma 0 as the x-intercept here on the left, and then minus b plus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a, comma 0 would be the other x-intercept. So that's the graphical connection. Most people are visual, so that might help you visualize what we're doing here when we solve quadratic equations. Next, we're going to do some exercises. The first thing to do when you look at a statement like this is to write it in standard form. And the standard form of the quadratic equation would be 5x squared plus 11x minus 12 equals 0. So we want to have that in standard form. So we're going to compare that with the standard quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Then what you want to do is you want to specifically identify what a, b, and c is. And I always recommend to do it in writing. So in this case, a equals 5, the coefficient of x squared, b equals 11, and c equals minus 12. Okay? It's really important to get the minus signs right, otherwise the solution will be incorrect. So we know that the solutions to this equation is x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2a. So then x is equal to, so b is 11, so it would be minus 11, plus or minus the square root of minus 11, and rather 11 b squared, 11 squared, minus 4 times, and a is equal to 5, so minus 4 times 5, times c, and c is equal to minus 12. And be sure to use parentheses, otherwise your calculations may be incorrect. All divided by 2 times a, or 2 times 5. So don't try to simplify things right away. Write it out in detailed ways that you have an exact statement here. So now let's do the calculations. Of course, we leave the minus 11 the way it is, plus or minus the square root of, and now we evaluate each term. 11 squared is 121, and minus 4 times 5 is minus 20, and minus 20 times minus 12 is plus 240 divided by 10. So that's equal to minus 11 plus or minus the square root of 361 divided by 10, or x is equal to minus 11. So then the first solution would be x equals minus 11 minus 19, that's minus 30, divided by 10 is minus 3. And the other solution is minus 11 plus 19, that's equal to 8, and 8 divided by 10 is equal to 0.8. And remember, the square root of 361 is 19. Exercise 2, we need to rewrite as 2x squared minus 7x minus 15 equals 0. So then a, b, and c are as follows. A is the coefficient of x squared, so a equals 2. B is the coefficient of x, and that's equal to minus 7. And c would be the constant, so c is equal to negative 15. So then our solution is equal to x equals minus b, so minus negative 7 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So we have minus 7 in parentheses squared, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is minus 15, all divided by 2a, or 2 times 2. So you have to be very careful with the minus signs, double minus sign, etc. So be very explicit when you write this down. So now let's simplify things. So x equals minus negative 7, of course, is 7, plus or minus the square root of minus 7 squared is 49, and minus 4 times 2 is 8, and minus 8 times minus 15 is 120, divided by 4. So that's equal to 7 plus or minus the square root of 169 divided by 4. So that's equal to 7 plus or minus the square root of 169 is 13 divided by 4. So that means we have the following solutions. X equals 7 plus 13 is 20, and 20 divided by 4 is 5. The other solution is 7 minus 13 is minus 6, divided by 4 is minus 1.5. So these are the two solutions, 5 and minus 1.5. To solve number 3, let's remove the parentheses. So 6x times 6 times x is 6x minus 18. And on the right side we get x squared minus 5x plus 6. When you combine the terms, we get x squared minus 11x plus 24 equals 0. So we identify a, the coefficient of x, as 1, a equals 1. B is a coefficient of x, so b equals minus 11. And c equals 24. So then our quadratic formula gives us a solution x equals minus b, so minus negative 11 plus or minus the square root of minus 11 squared minus 4 times A, that's 1, times C, which is 24, divided by 2A, or 2 times 1. So this then turns into 11, positive 11, plus or minus the square root of 121, minus 4 times 24, and that's minus 96, divided by 2, and so that's equal to 11 plus or minus the square root of 25 divided by 2, or 11 plus or minus 5 divided by 2. So that gives us the following solution. 11 plus 5 is 16, divided by 2 is 8. And the other solution is x equals 11 minus 5 is 6, divided by 2 is equal to 3. So these are the two solutions to the given equation. So let's write this equation, this quadratic equation, in standard form to use the quadratic formula. So this would be 2x squared minus 7x minus 4 equals 0. So that means that a, b, and c equal to a equals 2, the coefficient of x squared. B, the coefficient of x, is equal to minus 7. And c is equal to minus 4. Applying the quadratic formula, x is equal to minus b, so minus negative 7, plus or minus the square root of minus 7 squared, minus 4 times a, minus 4 times 2, times c, and c is negative 4, divided by 2 times a, or 2 times 2. And this then becomes a 7 plus or minus the square root of 7 squared, of course, is 49. Minus 7 squared is 49. And then minus 4 times 2 is minus 8, times 4 is 32, with a plus sign, all divided by 4. And this is equal to 7 plus or minus the square root of 81 divided by 4, or 7 plus or minus 9 divided by 4. So we have the following two solutions. X equals 7 plus 9 is 16, divided by 4 is 4. And the other solution is x equals 7 minus 9, which is minus 2, divided by 4, or minus 1/2. So that's from part A, using the quadratic formula. And when we solve it according to part B by factoring, well, we can factor 2x squared minus 7x minus 4 equals 0 into 2x plus 1 times x minus 4 equals 0. And using the zero product property, we set each factor equal to 0. When we set the first factor equal to 0, 2x plus 1 equals 0, then x equals minus 1/2. When we set the second factor equal to 0, x minus 4 equals 0, then x equals 4. And of course, we've got the same solutions. The next example is a guided solution solved using the quadratic formula. So 3x squared plus 2x equals 7. So in standard form, this now becomes 3x squared plus 2x minus 7 equals 0, with a equal to 3, b equal to 2, and c equal to minus 7. So then the solutions are x equals negative b, or minus 2, plus or minus 2 squared, minus 4 times 3 times minus 7. And so it's minus 2 plus or minus 88. Now, 88 we can write as 4 times 22, and the square root of 4 is equal to 2, so that becomes 2 times the square root of 22. Now, pay attention to what happens next, because this is really an important detail. We factor out a 2 in the numerator. So that becomes 2 times parentheses minus 1 as a placeholder for the minus 2. And then we factor out the 2 in front of the radical symbol. So that, in other words, we have 2 times 1 minus plus or minus square root of 22 divided by 6. And we write 6 as 2 times 3. Now we can cancel the 2's. And so that means we have now a 3 in the denominator. So when we have minus 1 plus the square root of 22, so that's approximately equal to 1.230. And when we have 1 minus the square root of 22 divided by 3, so minus 1 minus the square root of 22. Sorry about that. So the first solution was minus 1 plus square root of 22 divided by 3. That's 1.230. The other solution is 1 minus the square root of 22 divided by 3, and that's approximately equal to minus 1.897. Again, using a calculator for these calculations. So here were the two solutions. But you may really want to revisit to make sure you understand how we progressed from here to there. And then canceling the 2's, of course, that's easy to see. And I would just recommend you always do it this way. Don't be sloppy and start canceling the 2's against the 2's and so on. That is usually a recipe for failure. So here are the two solutions. So let's use a quadratic formula with a equal to 1. The coefficient of x is equal to minus 1, so b equals negative 1, and c equals 2. So then the solution is equal to minus b, which would be minus negative 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so it's minus 1 squared, minus 4 times a times c, which is 2, divided by 2 times a, or 2 times 1. So that's equal to 1, minus 1 is plus 1, plus or minus the square root of 1, and then minus 4 times 1 is minus 4, and minus 4 times 2 is minus 8, all divided by 2. So this is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of minus 7 divided by 2. So in other words, we have the solutions 1/2 plus the square root of minus 7, which is square root of 7 times I, or divided by 2 times I. And we have the conjugate, x equals 1/2 minus the square root of 7 divided by 2 times I. Or we can write x equals 1/2 plus or minus the square root of 7 divided by 2I. To solve number 4, we multiply both sides of the equation by x squared. So this will give us 3x squared equals 5x plus 4. Or in standard form, we have 3x squared minus 5x minus 4 equals 0. So in other words, a equals 3, the coefficient of x squared. B equals -5, the coefficient of x. And then c is the constant term, -4. So then our solutions will be x equals minus b. So we have minus -5 plus or minus the square root of -5 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is -4, divided by 2 times a, or 2 times 3. And so that will be then equal to minus 5 is 5, plus or minus the square root of 25 plus 48, divided by 6, or 5 plus or minus the square root of 73 divided by 6. So these are the exact solutions. And when we do the approximate solutions, it'll be, if we use the plus sign, 5 plus the square root of 73 divided by 6, that's 2.257. And when we use the minus symbol, 5 minus the square root of 73 divided by 6, that is minus 0.591. So these are the two approximate solutions for x. And this concludes section 7.2.